All right, it is another Monday, and it is made better because I'm here with Alyssa Farah Griffin. Hello, Alyssa.
Hello, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. All right, let's talk with the big news that we didn't get to on the show today. Here in New York, it's big news at least.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, Mayor Eric Adams, New York mayor, pulled out of the mayoral race. He's been polling behind both Zoran Mamdani and former governor Andrew Cuomo.
Mm-hmm.
So Cuomo's running as an independent. Mamdani is won the Democratic primary, and Eric Adams was also an independent, dropped out. The only one left is Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa. Were you surprised that Adams dropped out?
You know, I was curious if it was going to happen. So the White House has basically been courting him for some time. There have been some conversations that have been reported.
And he defiantly pushed back on that.
Yes. Yeah, very much so. And by the way, when he was on our show late last year, he was, I'm all in. He'd obviously had these charges against him, was kind of defiant and saying he was committed to continuing to be mayor. But I think that there was a all hands on deck push to get him out of the race because we're going to get to this, but Trump put out a lengthy statement today, which I predicted would come, basically saying that if Mamdani wins, he is the face of the Democratic Party. And this is what Trump wants. He really wants to be able to tie House Democrats especially, but Democrats in general who are up in the midterms, not this November, but the following, to Mamdani, somebody who's an avowed socialist, somebody who's expressed some strong opinions that he's now walked back, like defund ICE, defund the police, and so on. And he sees him as somebody who's significantly more polarizing than the names he usually jumps to, like Bernie Sanders and AOC. So it creates this interesting moment. He wants Adams out of the race to kind of solidify the field. I'm curious to see what happens if there's pressure on Curtis Sliwa, this Republican who's never I don't think he's broken like 20% in the polls.
Right.
But to get out of the race, because that actually does make it somewhat more competitive. It fits a head-to-head of Cuomo with very real vulnerabilities he has, and someone who's very popular with a certain segment, but then also like very concerning to others like Mamdani.
Now, Mamdani's going to be on The View this week. He's going to be on Wednesday, which should be an interesting interview. Mm-hmm. Of course, we'd love to have Governor Cuomo on as well. Yeah. My question is, it's interesting because it sets Cuomo up as almost the Trump-endorsed candidate, which is shocking when you think back to COVID and they were certainly,
certainly going at it against
if not
each other.
Enemies, they were certainly brushing up against each other.
I would say it's sort of an alliance of convenience at this point, if you can even call it that. I think Cuomo would object to that. Trump and Cuomo have had a very, very kind of feisty, contentious relationship in the past. But it's something that was interesting to me, and there's a lot I want to hear from Mamdani. And I say this, listen, sometimes I hear from people who are watching the show when we talk about things that feel hyper-local. And a New York mayor's race may feel hyper-local, but it does have broader implications for the country. And I'd say for two reasons. The first being that New York will kind of be the center point of Trump trying to target a major liberal city with whatever he wants to do next. He's already advertising that. He's saying he's going to cut off federal funding to New York City if a Democratic socialist like Mamdani wins. So this sort of fight over, okay, is this guy able to push back and fight back against Trump if elected, I think is a valid one because it has implications for other American cities. The other is what I mentioned, which is that he's going to Republicans are going to try to make Mamdani the poster child of the Democratic Party. Not Chuck Schumer, not Hakeem Jeffries, not Kamala Harris, but this guy, was a no-name a year ago and now is somebody who's becoming more widely known and who I would argue is polarizing. So what I'm curious to see is how he's able to communicate that he's ready as a 32-year-old former state assemblyman to take on Donald Trump, the most powerful force in politics in, 15 years. And I've yet to hear that. I heard from some members of our studio audience when we first talked about him, and they were like, I like what he's talking about. I like that he's talking about the cost of living, but I don't know. I feel like Cuomo's somebody who might be more prepared to go toe-to-toe with Trump. But then, of course, Cuomo's got a million vulnerabilities, so...
Yeah, I mean, Mamdani, it's interesting because, they want to paint him as the face of the Democratic Party, which is ridiculous. Obviously, he hasn't held any real office yet.
Yeah.
But at the same time, his messaging did break through in a way that is kind of surprising. Yeah. And there probably are things to be learned from that. So by the Democrats. So it's an interesting...
Well, and that's kind of the question because if you think about it, Bernie Sanders and AOC, right after Trump was elected, did these cross-country tours, turned out big audiences at a time when Democrats were struggling to get any energy. So there clearly is energy in some part of the left for this sort of, taking on corporate greed, trying to challenge the status quo on the economic front. There is absolutely an audience there, and I think he captured that in his primary. I think the harder part, and we've seen this a lot of times when people run in a primary and then have to run in a bigger race. New York City is a huge city to be running in, having to walk back some of the other positions you've held, whether it's anti-policing messaging when you live in New York City, and the NYPD are the most beloved police force in America, despite criticisms people may have. That is sort of the gold standard of American policing. He's going to have things that are going to be harder for him to argue if he has a real race. And with Eric Adams out of the race, it's the first time that I think this general election has become an actual competition for him and not something where he was just going to win.
Right. It will be interesting to hear what he has to say on Wednesday. So that'll be good. And hopefully we'll get Governor Cuomo on as well.
Yeah, he should totally come on.
All right. In other news, a federal government shutdown is looming. The government's set to run out of funding midnight tomorrow night, which is very soon. President Trump's expected to meet with congressional leaders. He's certainly not indicating like he's interested in negotiating with them in any real way. But how do you think this is going to play out?
I mean, I'm just waiting for whatever photo op comes out of this meeting. Like, we remember the famous one of like Nancy Pelosi standing up at the desk, and like, there's just not going to go well. There's no way this White House meeting ends in a compromise and the government stays open and we all are like, the prudent thing to do is to fund the government for the American people. That is not where this is going.
Right.
I would say I've lived through numerous shutdowns, being both on Capitol Hill and in the White House, and then more than I can count, like fears of shutdowns that end in the 11th hour. I think that the government's actually going to shut down. And I think it's because there's actually appetites on both sides to let it happen. What I mean by that is Democrats, we argued it on the show, and I was on the other side. I never think a government shutdown is good for the public, and I care about the American people more than like the politics of it. But people were mad that Chuck Schumer kept the government open last time. Furious, Democrats were. So I think both he and Hakeem Jeffries are just looking at the political reality of like, Chuck Schumer has never in his career been as unpopular as he is now. And that's almost directly tied to the fact that he made that deal to keep the government open. So I think Democrats are in a place where they're thinking they're going to shut things down. And I'd add, there's also, by the way, kind of an appetite for that. I saw that my buddy John Favreau at Pod Save America, a Democrat, noted Democrat, was like, honestly, if this government's sending troops to Portland, I think we should shut it down. And that's not a bad message. Like for Democrats, that makes sense to me. On the other side, I think Trump's okay with the shutdown. I think that he thinks that he has the cards and that he has the levers to pull. And this is technical, but bear with me on it. So when the government shuts down, all of the federal government gets a notice from the Office of Management and Budget, OMB, telling them if they're furloughed, if they're going to get back pay and don't need to work, or if they're considered essential. And they decide what agencies stay open, what parts of those agencies do, all across the country. We forget that federal workers are not just in DC and Maryland. They're literally all across the country. And that is run by a man named Russ Vought, who is, many have called the architect of Project 2025. He's somebody who's actually a very brilliant in terms of knowing the mechanics of his job. He's somebody who knows what he's doing, and I'm predicting that he is going to choose to target goods and services and federal agencies in blue states, and especially in places where there's vulnerable Democrats who are running in the midterms. He's going to work to make it so that people feel it more, the pain of a shutdown, in places that are not pro-Trump areas. That's not good. That's not how it should work. I don't know that there's ever been partisanship that's factored into the OMB director's handling of a government shutdown, at least in my time in government. But I highly think that's what's going to happen. And they're banking on it basically being an extension of like the Doge cuts. Like they're basically like, we're getting carte blanche from Congress to just shut down what we don't want open, but choose to keep open what we want to. So I think it's kind of a disaster for everyone, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's something to look forward to.
Right.
How does it affect people?
Some good news on a Monday.
But explain as best you can how it practically, because you're right. We've lived through so many of these things and so many close calls and so many, we kind of become numb to it. I'm just saying as someone who doesn't pay attention to politics in the way you do outside of work. But can you tell me how it'll affect the people listening to the podcast if the government shuts down?
Yeah, and that's a good question because generally speaking, and I expect this will be the case if the government does shut down, the military still gets paid and the Department of Defense is still funded. So wars, national security, that all still goes on. So
Social security checks still go out?
Social security checks have traditionally always had a carve out that they're still going to go out. The caveat to that is new applications can be delayed if you're somebody who's newly enrolling, or even just basic like troubleshooting and help with the Social Security offices is going to be a lot harder. Generally benefits like WIC and TANF will still go out, but I can't say with certainty that they would, to be honest, because those have been something that have been debated within these negotiations. And part of this has also been about extending Obamacare subsidies, which gets wonky. But generally speaking, I think the real pain is going to be felt by furloughed federal workers. You'll notice it at national parks, which I think a lot of places we spend time, we don't even realize are national parks. Right. And the DC is always really hard hit because it's basically a federal city. So you have trash that's piling up, you have things that aren't collected. It's generally just not a good thing. And the other thing is, God forbid any kind of emergency happens during that period, because I think the longest we had was about 30 days, the longest in recent history. Congress is not working where they could do an emergency supplemental or they could authorize something that they need to, and that's just never a position.
What about like FEMA if there's a hurricane?
That's exactly my point. It's like FEMA would be delayed in being able to get aid out. FEMA would still be operating, but like any kind of emergency response we need to authorize could be delayed because of a shutdown.
Wow,
and they'll be understaffed. They'll be every agency, even with carve-outs that OMB and stuff might do, will be massively understaffed. And my understanding is traditionally like Border Patrol agents don't get paid. I'd be curious if Trump does some kind of carve out there, but that's also a factor.
Wow. All right. Well, scary stuff, but I guess
good.
We'll know more tomorrow.
Maybe magic will happen. Who knows?
Well, I hope you're wrong.
Yeah.
All right. Now back to the important stuff in America.
Yes.
The Super Bowl halftime show.
Yes.
It was announced
Bunny.
yesterday. It's Bad Bunny. First of all, are you sad it's not Taylor Swift? I know you were holding
to
out
be
hope.
honest, I'm devastated. I just thought it would be.
There were a lot of clues.
It just felt like it was going to be, and timed with like October 3rd, her new album coming out. I just sort of thought this would be our year. But people are very excited about Bad Bunny.
Yes.
I have a cultural blind spot to Bad Bunny.
Okay, but you're admitting it, and it's okay.
Totally,
yes.
totally. No, I know that he's a huge star. Like
yes.
I know that he's I mean, I would say globally he's probably as big as Taylor Swift. I just don't know that much of his music.
Right. Well, I'm sure you'll get exposed to him plenty on the way up.
I will.
And then, but there is this backlash going on. But I think part of it is generational for sure. Part of it is like the NFL hardcore middle-aged, and I'm being kind, white guy fan base, maybe not familiar with Bad Bunny, but I feel like we've heard these complaints over and over again the last couple of years. So I want to go through some of these recent Super Bowls with you. Now, I've been lucky enough because I used to go for work. I've been to 11 Super Bowl halftime shows.
That's unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. It was the coolest part of my job. And I went every year in a row for 11 years from 2003 to 2015. So I saw, and that was like that was after Janet Jackson. And then they were like concerned about, you remember Janet Jackson?
Oh yeah.
That whole thing. So everyone went for like really broad, kind of boomer rock star type people, amazing people.
I kind of loved that era, to be honest.
Yeah, I was like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers and Prince and Paul McCartney, and every year it was someone
huge,
gigantic. Madonna. Now the last couple of years it's gotten a little more divisive. So let's go through some of this. So we had Kendrick Lamar. Your thoughts on Kendrick Lamar?
I enjoyed, my husband loves Kendrick Lamar, but my critique last time was like my middle-aged, essentially, my older than middle-aged mom, who's actually very cool and up to date, didn't know any of the music. So I feel strongly that artists should be somewhat multi-generational. But I enjoyed Kendrick Lamar.
Before that, we had Usher, who I think is multi-generational.
He is. But think about it, he's been around basically 20 plus years.
Yes.
My mom absolutely knows tons of Usher songs.
Yeah, everyone knows Usher, or as I know him, Usher.
Usher.
Yeah. And then we had Rihanna again.
She was pregnant.
Which was amazing and iconic.
Yeah.
But I feel like there was backlash there too a little bit.
Actually. I think there was. I loved it though. I love Rihanna.
Yeah. The big 50th anniversary of hip hop.
So excellent, but multi-generational.
Yes.
There was, if anyone spanning like 40 years of pop culture would find something that they appreciate, even if they didn't think they liked hip hop. They're like, oh, I know this song, because they were such established artists and songs that they chose to do.
All right, 2021, The Weeknd. Now, this is interesting to me because I feel like I think Bad Bunny's bigger than The Weeknd.
That's true.
But I feel like The Weeknd was also kind of like a generational thing where a lot of people didn't get it.
Yeah.
They had the one hit everyone in the
reaction.
country knew.
Yeah.
Remember he was like going through the maze and stuff?
It was actually a very weird performance. I think I do love The Weeknd though. I think he's like brilliant, but I'd put that in a similar category.
All right. And then Shakira and Jennifer Lopez.
Iconic,
Bad Bunny made
amazing.
an appearance there too. Now, before that, they had like a run of what I would say were broad, but kind of lame. Like big stars. Everyone knows them, but I feel like they don't have the excitement of some of these big ones. So we had Maroon 5.
Safe.
Everyone loves Maroon 5, but yeah. Timberlake, I remember being very disappointing.
I know, but I didn't expect that.
No.
Yeah.
But you were excited when they announced it.
I was very excited. And then it was... That's the thing, too, is it doesn't... Just because it's a big name doesn't mean it's not a snooze. Like, I'll say Bad Bunny is a great performer. Even if I couldn't sing any of his songs, he does put on a good show.
Speaking of great performers, Lady Gaga jumped out of the top of the building. That was insane.
By the way, I remember I made some reference after maybe it was Rihanna, maybe it was Usher. I don't know. Someone thought I shaded Lady Gaga, and I like called up EW and was like, I would never like take that headline down.
Of all the headlines written about
I was
the
like,
show,
that's
the one that you get upset about.
Keep me up at night.
All right, I'm just gonna throw out the rest of these because people are getting bored.
Sorry.
Coldplay.
Love. I'm a huge Coldplay fan though.
Katy Perry, The Left Shark was iconic.
The best.
Yes.
The best.
I was at that one. Bruno Mars with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Beyonce, of course.
This is the problem. You actually identified it at the beginning, my bias against some of the more recent choices. It was that post Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake run where they chose kind of older school artists that had like this multi-generational appeal and then sometimes even paired them with newer artists.
Right.
That I think that I'm thinking too much of that, where what I always liked was the Super Bowl that it's like I enjoy it, but then also like my mom gets it or like my older neighbors or something do. So that's my only real critique.
Give me your top three. Who could it be right now? Who would you pick?
This is super. Oh, like right now.
Right now,
or
like who are the best? If who would be better than Bad Bunny at this point?
Actually, I don't know that's better than him. I would pair someone with him, and I bet there will be a surprise. There'll be some surprise guess. Like I had said, although staff disagree with me, like if Sabrina Carpenter came out is like a guess. So you get kind of the like. You're pulling from different demos. You get two big stars of the moment. But I get what you mean. That's not
the same people that don't get Bad Bunny
won't
wouldn't get Sabrina. I think so.
I had said Pink. How's Pink never done a halftime show? She's got like 20 plus years.
And a great performer, does the aerial stuff and all that.
Yeah, I want someone who's going to do like a good show. I think the fact that Adele's never done a halftime show is interesting.
There were rumors it was going to be Adele. There were rumors it was going to be Miley.
Oh, actually, Miley would have been higher.
Miley would have been
too.
good.
Yeah.
Miley would have been good. And then obviously
she doesn't perform
Taylor.
live that much.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Not anymore, although there's rumors of a Hannah Montana anniversary event of some kind.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, I don't want to.
No, but
get too
so
excited.
I should preface this all to say I don't think I realized how big the blowback was on Bad Bunny till after the show, because then I started scrolling through Twitter. I had some time to kill, and people are like really angry over it. I'm not invested that way. Like I don't. It takes a lot for me to get mad about like a pop culture decision of something, but I think it's actually people are going to be the right of the country's more upset than I realized.
Yeah, and they can't name a single Bad Bunny song, which is partly why they're so upset, I think.
But like, what artists would they be happy with short of like Morgan Wallen and like, I'm trying to think like.
That's a good question. Garth.
Yeah, everyone loves Garth. Something in the country realm.
Yeah, country realm. I'm sure Taylor.
Carrie Underwood. Love Carrie Underwood.
Taylor would upset them.
Yeah, that's the thing is Taylor Swift, literally the most safe brand would upset them.
Carrie Underwood does the theme song for Sunday Night Football, which I have to say I enjoy.
Amazing, yeah.
Every time. All right, that's all the time we have for now. I think we've put everyone to sleep. Before we go, we have some news from our friends at 2020. Their official after show podcast, hosted by Deborah Roberts, is now streaming with video on YouTube. Each Monday after 2020, fans of the show can go even deeper into the reporting from that week's episode with Deborah Roberts on 2020, The After Show. You can find it by scanning the QR code on your screen or YouTube or whenever you listen to your podcasts. All good. Before we go, I think we need to talk about your glasses. Because the glasses came out on an episode of The Weekend View. Mm-hmm. I think in the 4-something years you've been here, the best comments you've ever had.
Right?
I think people were very excited about the glasses.
And so now they're coming back.
Yes.
Oh no, and now they've become my whole personality. Like I get a click smarter when the glasses are on.
Really?
They're actually just light block. Well, they're red light. Sorry.
Blue
They're
light?
blue light blocking glasses, but I actually do find that they help with overhead lights.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have light sensitivity and get migraines, so they help when we have long days.
My 14-year-old daughter also now wearing blue light glasses. I think this is just a thing.
I think it's just trendy.
It's just a vibe.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let us know at home how you feel about the glasses. Thank you for joining me today, Alyssa. Tomorrow I'll be back here with Joy Behar. I know you all missed her last week, and we'll see you then.